In this video, we are going to learn about properties, constants, and methods in object-oriented programming in PHP. Now, these are the most important concepts of object-oriented programming, and that's why it becomes much crucial for us to learn them completely. Okay, so now first let's learn about properties, PHP properties. In a class, variables are called properties. Just in object-oriented programming, we make use of the word properties, but rest they are nothing but variables. The syntax is quite easy. Inside the PHP tags, I have created a class and given the name as class name. Just for now, I have given this name. And here I have created one property. Now, these are nothing but variables. Just one thing here, we are adding an additional keyword called public. Now, this is known as the access specifier. There are three types of access specifiers. I'll just write it, three types of access specifiers in PHP. First is public, which is the default. Even if I don't specify any keyword, this variable will be public. Public means this variable is accessible anywhere in my program. Inside this class, outside this class, maybe in some other class, anywhere. So this is first is public. Second access specifier is private. Private means this variable is accessible only inside this class. Okay, it can't be accessed outside of this class. Now we make use of these access specifiers for safety purposes, and we don't want data inconsistency, right? Many times we have similar variables, so to avoid overriding them, we make use of these access specifiers. So second is private, and if I keep it as private, it can be accessible only inside this class. The third is protected. Protected means this variable is accessible inside this class as well as in the class which is derived from this class. Okay, so that we will be learning in inheritance how to derive a class from, how to derive a subclass from a parent class. So this is all about inheritance, so we will be learning there. But just for now, just understand we have three access specifiers: public, private, and protected. Now to access the non-static property, create the object of the class. Now this is one important thing to note. We have two types of properties: static and non-static. Now this is static. Okay, if the property is static, then we make use of the keyword called static. So just before this variable name, we put a keyword called static, and that indicates that this variable is a static property. But here we haven't specified any static keyword, so that indicates that this property is a non-static property. So in order to access non-static property, we have to create the object of this class. We already know that we first have to create the object of the class, and then we can access its properties and methods. So in order to create the object, we first write the object name, whatever object name you want to write, and then we make use of the keyword called new, and then class name followed by the class name, open and close round bracket, semicolon. So this is the syntax to create an object. First write the object name, whatever you want to keep, equals to operator, then new keyword followed by the class name. Okay, now using this object, I can access the properties and methods of this class. So in order to access them, we use this operator. Okay, so we have object name, this operator, and then followed by the property name. In this case, it is prop, and I have assigned a value called I love programming. So when I echo out this variable, I will get to see I love programming onto the screen. So let's look this in an IDE. Okay, we'll just see all these things practically to make the concepts much clear. Create a class, and I'll just name it as class name for now. I want to keep it simple for now. Class name, and then inside this we will create one variable or one property, whatever you want to say, dollar name. Okay, now I will create its the object of this class, so I will name it as dollar obj1. Okay, is equal to new keyword followed by the class name. In this case it is class round brackets semicolon. So the object has been created. Now using this object, I can access the property using this operator. It is important. This operator is very important. Followed by the name. The property name is name. Now one thing to note is here I am not specifying the dollar. Okay, so this is how the syntax is. You don't have to mention the dollar here in this case. Okay, simply you have to give the name. That's all. And I'll just assign a value. I love programming. Okay, now I will just simply echo dollar obj1. All. Just save it and we'll get to see I love programming onto the screen. Okay, so I'll just refresh it. So as you can see, I love programming has been printed onto the screen. Now it is important to note, see, if I simply print out a dollar echo dollar name, I will get an error. Okay, see, I will get an error, undefined variable. So it is important to access all the properties and methods using the object. Otherwise, you will get an error. So so we'll write the object name, then this operator followed by the property name or the method name, whatever you wanna write. So this is how you even you can assign a value directly here as well. I mean, okay, there are multiple ways to write a program. Okay, and I can just simply echo out this and I will get to see. Okay, so there are many ways. We'll just see the output. So I love programming. So there are many ways. Okay, you can directly assign the value here or you can assign the value using this object. Okay, so now let's move to PPT. Okay, we have another example wherein we are using a method to name a variable. Okay, okay, let's see. We have tags, PHP tags, inside which we have a class called class name. We have one property or one variable, and we have a function which is public, means even this function will be accessible anywhere in my program. Then we have a keyword function, and the function name is set value. Inside this we have one argument called dollar name. Okay, and we are just returning this okay, we are just returning, actually here the name of the property should be name instead of prop. It should be name, so I will just say dollar, just say dollar name. Okay, okay, and I'm just returning this keyword, means I'm accessing this property inside this function, so that I have to make use of the keyword called this. Then name is, it means I'm assigning this value to this way, and while calling the function I'm just passing out the value. Okay, so even using a function you can assign a value. Okay, here we directly assigned a value using object, but you can even do. So what I'll do is okay, I'll just cut this out. PHP and here I'll create a class and the name will be class. We'll create one property which will be public dollar name. Now I will create a method public function set value. The name of the method is set value and it will take one argument, and I'll just say return this, sorry, dollar this, then name. Now, as I said, no need to put the dollar sign in this case. Okay, we can simply give out the name is equal to dollar name. So I'm just assigning this value in this way. Okay, and we'll first create the object. So I'll just say dollar obj1 is equal to new class name, and then dollar obj, this is important. And now I will simply give out the name of the method, which is set value, and inside this I will pass one value called Kevin. So now this value will be stored inside this variable dollar name, and then it will be assigned to this variable. So now this variable is actually containing the value called Kevin, and I will just echo out. Okay, so in this case what we could do is we could simply echo out. I'll just echo out this part. Okay, because we are returning this name, so I'm simply echoing out at the same time. We'll just go to the browser. Okay, so as you can see, Kevin has been printed onto the screen. That's because I passed the value called Kevin while calling, so it got stored inside this variable called dollar name, and I assigned this value to this variable called dollar name. Okay, and this function returned this value, this variable, and I just printed that onto the screen. Okay, so you can you can assign a value to a property directly using the object, or even through a function as well, through a method. So there are many ways. Okay, I have shown you all the cases. So now let's jump on to static property. So that was about non-static properties. Now let's learn about static property. Static properties can be called directly without creating the object of a class. Okay, so if a property is static, no need to create the object. We can simply call that property, means we can directly access that property. Static properties are declared with the static keyword. So it is easy to identify. See, I have used the keyword static, so that indicates this is a static key. So the syntax is we make use of the keyword called static. That's all. That is the only difference. Now to access a static property, use the class name, double colon, and the property name. So this is through this way we can access a static keyword, a static property. No need to create the object of the class in case of static property. So the syntax is we give the class name. In this case, our class name is this class name. Then this is the scope resolution operator. Double colon is called scope resolution operator. And then we have the property name, that is dollar $prop. Okay, so I can simply echo out that. Let's see the example. I have a static property which has a value I love programming. Now I can simply use this method, class name, scope resolution operator, and then the property name. If I echo out, I will get to see I love programming. No need to create the object in case of static properties only. This is important to know. So I'll just go to here. We will create PHP and PHP. Now we have a class, and I'll just give it a name as class. I'll create one property called dollar name. And now, okay, it should be static, right? Should be static, and I'll just assign a value here itself. I program. Okay. Now, if I want to access this static property, no need to create the object. Simply, I will echo class name. We have to write the class name, then double colon, which is a scope resolution operator, followed by the property name. In this case, it is name. So I'll just run this and I'll get to see I love programming onto the screen. Okay, so it has been printed. So that is the only difference. In case of static property, no need to create the object of the class. We can access them through this approach. Okay. Yeah. So now let's jump on to, okay. A class can have both static and non-static properties. A static property can be accessed from a method in the same class using the self keyword and a double colon. Now this is important to note. See, here we have a example, okay, through which we will easily understand. We have PHP tags. Now inside this, I have created a class. We have one static property, okay, called dollar value, which has a value I love programming. Now I have created a function. Now see, if I want to access any variable from a method, we made use of this keyword, right, in case of non-static property. But if the property is static, then we make use of the keyword called self. Okay, so I'll just say return self double colon and the property name. So through this method I will be able to access this keyword. So through this method I will be able to access this property. So we saw the same in case of non-static properties, just there we made use of the uh, dollar this keyword. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just go to okay. And then we created the object, and then through this object I am trying to access this method. So see, now this method is not static. So in order to access this method, I will have to create an object. Okay, so if the method was also static, then I won't have to create any object. I can simply access that method without any object as well. Okay, but since I'm just returning this variable using this method, I have to create an object of the class and then try to access this method using this object. Okay, so I'll just go to an IDE $PHP end P. Now class we have, I'll just give it a class name, and now we will create a static property public static, then let's give it a name, and I'll just assign I programming. Okay, for now. Now I will try to access this variable or a property inside a method. So for that, public function, maybe let's give it a name of the method as display, and I'll just try to access this variable, a static property inside this. I'll just say return self double colon followed by the name of the. So here it is very important to note. See, in case of non-static keyword, I can directly access it using this keyword, dollar this keyword. But since this is a static keyword, sorry, since this is a static variable, I have to use a keyword called self. Okay, so now I will just access this method using the objects. I'll just create the object, and now dollar obj1 this operator is used to access the methods and properties, and I just say display. That's all. And we'll just echo out, because see, this is returning us this value, an variable. Okay, so I'll just echo out so that it gets printed onto the screen. So I'll just go to the browser, and okay, so as you can see, I love programming has been printed onto the screen. So see, I used this static variable inside this function, and then I used this function to display the value of this variable. See, if it was a static keyword, I'll just remove the keyword called static. So now it has become a non-static keyword. Now if I try to run this, let's see what happens. Okay, so we got a fatal error. Why? Because access to undeclared static property. So we can't you here we have to make use of this keyword. So I can, if it is a non-static keyword, I can make use of this keyword. This, like this. So now I'll just this. See, I love pro. So if it is a if it is a non-static keyword, then make use of this keyword, and if it is a static keyword, then you have to make use of the self key. Okay, that is the only difference.